Welcome. Welcome today to a live event. We haven't had one of these in a while, and it's a little bit of a spontaneous decision to bring this to you live instead. I've been recording these YouTube videos for a while now, really just sitting down here, pressing play, and talking. And I was feeling today that it would be fun to just do it live and to invite anyone to come share this live space with me, just knowing whether you're here live or on the replay. We're going with a bit of a potent light-filled space today here on the summer solstice, the longest, brightest day of the year. And here in New Mexico, we've been having absurd amounts of rain, which I've been talking about so much because it's not normal. And I am just overjoyed with the fact that rain has just been showing up and the land is so green, so green, in contrast to last year when things were very different. I every time I go into conversation about light, I feel this strong need to bring some balance as we also bring in some space for the dark. So that's what was just happening there, calling in last year when things were so dry and fires were burning so horrifically. And that time, this time last year and in the months that followed, really holding a lot of space for the dark parts of our world. Presencing that, because what this is here has nothing to do with pushing away the darkness. It has nothing to do with ignoring those darker aspects of reality. What today is a celebration and an invitation to cultivate more light. What better day to do that than the longest, brightest day of the year, which brings us full circle to where we were. Let's drop in. I really want today to be experiential. It's an invitation to drop in. That is, drop out of our heads, out of this conversational realm. Drop in into your body. So dropping in, feeling your feet on the floor, feeling your feet on the chair. Closing your eyes if that's safe and comfortable. Dropping down into your seat, dropping down into your feet, whichever one's most available to you right now. It's a moment to feel into the connection, feeling into the connection with the surface that's holding you here in space. It's a moment to bring your full attention down into your seat, your feet. And from here, bringing your attention to your breath. And I invite you to bring your attention to your breath down in your body. So feeling the rise and fall in your belly, feeling the rise and fall in your chest. Just a moment to be here with your breath. It's that just as that mechanical wave, that movement of your rib cage, of your abdomen, as you breathe in and out. A few more grounding breaths in that way. Taking a moment as we're here breathing to connect once more into your seat, into your feet on the floor. As you're breathing here, being in connection with that surface that's supporting you, that's holding you here in this space. And from here, inviting in the sun. Inviting in the sun, perhaps you've been outside today and you felt it pouring its light onto you. Maybe you haven't had that opportunity today, but you can call upon that memory. So allowing the sun to bathe you in its light here, just for a moment. Just taking notice, like what sensations do you experience in your body? You experience heat, you experience tingling. Just noticing what's arising in your body as we're here, grounded, calling in the sun. We're gonna bring in a little bit more practice later on, weaving in some conversation here, bringing in some words. Why am I so fired up about the solstice this year? And what really brought me to make this decision? Like, this is such a powerful opportunity. I don't want to miss it to show up here live. Once again, just weaving in my reality. I know a lot of people's realities. And moving what feels like, in a way, out of this very dark time. I launched Upward Slopes in 2021, really coming out of this 2020 really dark time in my own life and out in the world, and really just trying so hard to find a way of walking through life where I could be fully aware of the dark aspects alive in the world, because I'd reached this point where I knew, right, this deep knowing based on my own experience and based on what I was seeing out in the world, that when we don't have the ability to bring that dark aspect of our life and reality into an embodied experience, when we do all we can to will it away, that only brings more of it, right? We can do that for a little while. Things come up and we're like, no, I'm not going there. And we push it away. But each time we push it away, it goes somewhere where it gets to build and build and build. So we have to be able to embody the dark aspects of reality. So I spent a lot of time learning to do that, made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot, and that gets to be a part of everything that I get to bring you today. Moving now, these last several months, really being done really being done with sitting in those states of grief and hopelessness and knowing that it's time. It's time to cultivate more light, more possibility, more opportunity, knowing that that's really what we need in our world. It's what we each need, right? As we each deal with trauma, anxiety, grief, depression, whatever label we are using for our own experiences that are unpleasant. As we each are dealing with this pain, learning to cultivate, even when things are hard, how how can we step into a space that we're bringing in light? The same thing goes for the world, right? The ecosystems, the communities we are part of, the planet as a whole. How do we stand in a space where we get to recognize, yes, things are dark, things are painful and not not great. And how can we stand in that understanding while also cultivating in light in a way that opens up pathways forward? And that's really, really the heart of it is as I've been working with more light, calling in light, receiving light when it shows up, which is what we get to work with today. How can I let that fill me up? How can I let that move through me, work through me so that I can take my next steps through life, bringing forth these paths that bring us to greater opportunity and actually solve problems. Not going to go on too much of a tangent with that today because I spent a lot of time in my other YouTube videos talking to things like that. So, what I've learned, you know, in my time being with the sun, which I have to say, I have quite the experience being a born and raised in the desert, spending almost a decade in Phoenix, Arizona, moving back here to New Mexico, the edge of the forest in the desert. I know the sun well. I know the sun very well. And I know its power. I know its power to bring me joy, fill me up, make me feel good. I also know its power to cause harm when it's in excess. And I bring this up because part of what, working with the sun, working with any aspect of nature, I love to work with the moon, all these different aspects of nature that get to teach us balance and not balance in a stuck, perfect, idealized form where we think there is some perfect balance that exists because, again, as earth and biology teaches us, that's rarely the case. But what's actually the case is rhythm and flow and this dynamic balance. We get to, I was really introduced to this as I studied as a biomedical engineer, really getting to understand mechanistically how our human bodies work, how we work biochemically, how homeostasis is what rules our bodies. Everything is operating in this dynamic state of equilibrium. Entering into this realization, thanks to wonderful teachers, that I can cultivate these deeper understandings of the rhythms of life and the ebb and flow and of this dynamic balance, again, bringing us back to the sun. We all know that the sun in too much literally burns us. It's a fire that, when it burns too hot, burns us, physically damages us. But we can take that too far. We all know people, maybe you're one of them, that's terribly afraid of the sun and won't go outside without completely covering up because you've heard how the sun causes cancer and we have to protect ourselves. And yes, to some degree, because at some level of extreme, that's certainly the case. But before we get to that level of extreme, we have space, this whole space where we get to enter into allowing the sun to fall down on our skin and receiving all the benefit of that. I could bring examples to what those are. I put my biomedical engineering health coaching hat on and we could talk about the importance of vitamin D, or we can talk about mood boosting benefits and bring in those technical pathways. But if you've been listening to me for the last several months, you'll know that I've tabled that for now. Much more interested in our own embodied experience. And that's as always, but today as well, the invitation to get outside. Get outside. I was out there before this video started. My bare feet planted on the earth. I'm so blessed with this little backyard forest, planting my feet on the earth and allowing the sun to fully envelop me. Yeah, pausing there for a moment. I'm going to invite you to really, truly go outside and do this. But if you're inside here like I am, because it's more practical, you can do this here too. Allowing the sunlight to drop on your skin. And allowing it to soak in. So much juicy stuff when it comes to the sun. Just letting it warm you up, illuminate anything that it needs to illuminate. I have a practice. I have a practice that I get to record when I hang up from this that goes in the We Are the Forest membership portal. This is my still fairly new space where I get to bring you practices like this, right? Embodiment practices where, yes, we can have a little bit of conversation, but really more dive directly into practice to be fully experiential with our own selves, our own bodies, our own breath, all those parts of ourselves get to be here. They get to experience life in a way that I've found we don't often get to out out in the world, a world that's very focused on the human mind and really tends to see the human body as a meat suit, something that we kind of have to deal with, something that brings pain and just isn't deeply appreciated. And I wanted to create a space that completely blows that up and allows us to get out of our heads, to ground into our bodies and our own experience in this world and to bring in practice. So I get to record a video, a practice to go a little bit deeper to work with the sun today, but I wanted to make sure that I'm still giving you here plenty to work with. I've found, as a yoga teacher and working in the embodiment realm, that there's a lot of practices that we can call upon that take a lot of time and effort. A full hour and a half yoga class is a fantastic space to be embodied. And also, how can we find short and simple practices that we can call upon at any moment's notice to bring a little bit more into our life of, what we may find ourselves needing. Going back to the sun, right? The sun, I've found, as I've been moving on this trajectory from a very deep and dark descent, moving forward into a place of more hope and more possibility and more action that actually makes my own self and this world a better place. I've found many times that all that's needed to really shift, to make that shift into a space where I can be fully present and awake and aware and can able to take actionable steps, is to call in a little bit more light. To call in a little bit more light, to allow it to fill me up, to allow it to move through me, to illuminate, what exactly is it? What exactly is it that's really keeping me stuck? Maybe allowing it to start to alchemize, start to work with some of those dark energies that are present. And we start to dissolve them or transform them into something new, something that I can take with me, a little bit wiser, a little bit stronger as I move forward in life. And what a day here on the solstice to really call in that power, to really call in the power of the sun, of our star, the star that allows for all of this to happen, right? None of this would exist. None of this would exist without our star. I want to leave you today with a few of those simple practices, invitations into spaces, into practice that Yes, I invite you to call upon today on the solstice, but the idea, the idea is always being finding practice that you can do routinely. So calling upon the power of the solstice to really firmly ground this, to establish this as a powerful practice, but moving forward into the days, weeks, months, years that follow. So even in the dead of winter, we can do this. This taking a moment to call in that light. Again, we can do that. We can do that even if we're inside. Grounding into our bodies, calling in the sun, calling in that sun and letting it shine. And also, we can actually get outside, go stand on the earth or wherever you need to be outside. Literally call down the sun, feeling its rays falling upon your skin and letting it wash through you, letting it fill you up. So much fun stuff we can work with. And as always, I invite you to have fun with it. I love the work that I do and the spaces I find myself in because I they can just be so much fun. You know, we get to be playful and call in that childlike aspect of ourselves that we were told to leave behind because now we're grown up adults with responsibilities. And how boring is that? We can be responsible and we can have some fun, playfulness at the same time. So exploring how you can play with this practice. Again, knowing that I have now for you this space I've designed specifically to bring you deeper into practices like this one, to guide you a little bit deeper into how you can work with the sun or the trees or the moon, the earth, all these different parts of nature in a deeply embodied, experiential way in our own bodies, in our own bodies, so that, and this is the important piece, right? Yes, we get to work in our own selves so that we can transform ourselves and so that we can connect with the world that we are part of and ripple out into the world and start to transform the world around us because we we all know that this world could use so much more light in a grounded, in balance sort of form. So I am going to leave us there today. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to bringing you more videos in this live format. I find it's more fun, more powerful to show up in space like this where you are so totally welcome to come join me in the live experience. Come share your experience here live and also have the opportunity to watch this on the replay at your own time whenever that best serves you, of course. I would love to see you over in the We Are the Forest membership space. Visit upwardslopes.com/We Are the Forest. The link will be below, as always. feel very called right now to end today with a moment of gratitude. If you come to my yoga classes, I end every single yoga class in that way, and I feel, especially here as we're working with sun and earth, this this very important, mostly forgotten practice that is, yes, being able to receive the gifts of the sun, being able to receive the gifts of the trees, the earth, and giving it back in whatever way best serves, knowing that in each moment, what always serves is gratitude. So a moment to share gratitude for our sun that enables life in all its different forms to be here on this planet. And with that, I leave you today and I look forward to seeing you in whatever the next space is that we find ourselves in.